Welcome to the huge, big, crazy jwildfire tutorial. In this video I'm going to run through basically what I do to make my jwildfire renders, which come out of the software looking like this, usually. So first, you're going to want to make sure you're using 64-bit Java, because 32-bit has a RAM limit of 4 gigs, and I think if you want to export higher than 4K, the software will just straight up refuse to do it if it doesn't have the memory. So I've got 64-bit Java running with 8 gigs of memory available. You can just do however much your computer can handle. I've got a 32 gig system, and I've never run into issues with 8 gigs, so that's good enough for me. So this is the interface. First, more important than anything interactable and like visible here, is you're going to want to go to the settings and go to UI theme, because this is the most important setting you're going to want to like have set. There's a bunch of different themes you can choose between independent of your workspace theme. Usually I use the texture one because it looks cool. You can just go with whatever you think looks nice. Now it starts you off here with these preloaded flames, which you can start working off of, but since they're based on predetermined, I want to say presets, usually I just start from a new batch, so I start from scratch, which puts you with a completely blank thing. And the first thing I do is I go over here to this transformations tab. This is basically where your layers are going to be, and you start with 0, so you hit add, and that gives you one transform with the linear 3D option, or variable var. And this you can change in the nonlinear tab. This is where most of the most important edits are going to be. So this, when you click on this drop down, it'll give you a list of like a bunch of different options to use. I want to say these are all different equations, different algorithms. Clearly I don't know much about how this works, but I know how to get images out of it. And you can scroll through it with the arrow keys, which is what I typically do. There's not going to be much of interest happening when you only have one variable in, so to make things more interesting you can throw in a second one. I think these are, what's the limit here, 12 for each transform. There's 12 of these variables you can set for each transform, but you have an infinite number of transform layers you can go with. I actually shouldn't call those layers, because layers is something else, but it's kind of how I think about it. So let's start with CSC and just kind of keep going until I find something that looks kind of neat. All the cut ones are like, most of these options are going to be sorted in categories. Like there's a bunch of cut ones which I find don't do much in the early stages. DC, kind of the same. There's crop. Let's do ellipsoid 3D. Nah. Elliptic too. It looks like a bunch of this stuff is looking about the same, but that's probably because I have this number set to 0, and it just, yeah. This number is basically the amount of influence this variable has over the final image. So right now it's at 0. We'll put it up to, I guess it's a slider. I always forget it's a slider. As you interact with this option, it won't render the full quality here. So it'll only render the full quality once you move around this transform, which I guess we can move on to this now. This is where your transform is located in space. You can left click to move it around to transform it, right click to rotate it, and middle click to scale it. And once we scaled it down, we got something. Now, once you actually have something that like looks tangible in this viewport, it's a lot easier to mess with. So we've got like this start here with Looney and Elliptic. I kind of like how this looks, so I'm gonna add another transform and scroll through to get ovoid. Now these two transforms, they will interact with each other, and you can change the weight or the influence of each transform up here by double clicking. It defaults to 0.5, but let's see if I make this 0.7. Doesn't really do much. 1? No, it doesn't do much either. I'm gonna keep it at 0.5. The transform you have selected will be in solid lines, and the transforms that aren't selected are going to be in dotted lines, and you can just click on them to switch between. You can also change how they're displayed. They can be a crosshair, rectangle, triangle, or hidden. I like the axis because it's kind of small and out of the way. And that's when they become just circles with arrows that show up. So I'm going to keep messing with this for a minute and get it to a point where I can start messing with the camera controls. Oh, something else that you can do with each variable is each variable has a list of parameters you can adjust. I don't usually mess with these as much because I can usually get what I want just with like messing with the influence and the weight. But if you want to get like, if you have a variable you really like and you want to see what it's capable of, you can kind of just mess with these numbers here. Like it's at -5 here. Bring it up to 5, it doesn't do too much, but it's like there's a difference. You can drag through. Yeah, when you're dragging through, you can kind of see exactly what they're doing. And then fine-tune it to what you want. And something else, if you don't have access to a 3-button mouse, or you prefer another way to move these transforms around, you can use the Affine tab, which gives you the direct coordinates of each in 3D space. And you can just rotate by set degrees, or scale by a set amount, move by a set amount. There's also this button here, Post TF, which makes it so it moves the whole transform as one. So you can kind of see it's moving like this whole orb around, where if Post TF was set to off, it moves like aspects of it. That's something else you can do. I'm gonna add another transform to up the complexity before I bring in the camera. Once I have a cool image here, what I usually do is I start messing around with the camera here, which it may not look like it, but all of this is in 3D space. And you can reveal that by bringing up this perspective slider here on the bottom. 0.65, and then you can roll the camera around, move it around. Sometimes it'll render out in low quality, but you can just like click and drag a little bit to fix that. Now that we're in 3D space, there's some other options. Well, we've always been in 3D space, but now that we can like see it, there's some other options you can mess with. There's X, Y, Y, Z, and ZX. This is how you like change which coordinate space you're clicking and dragging between. Z is going to be your like depth space. So if I move this around, I'm moving it like in depth rather than just like through a flat plane. And the same thing with ZX here, except it moves in the X axis rather than the Y. And once you're here, you can just keep messing with it, keep seeing what looks cool. I think I forgot to up the influence of a few things. Nah. There's also some variables that let you they let you load up object meshes. So if I had something, let's see, WF. Yeah, if I had like a file, like a 3D model that I wanted to load in, I can go into the settings here and just find it. But I don't. I've only really messed with that once. By default, it'll load a cube. The center X and center Y sliders will move the entire like image. It'll move the entire image left, right, up, and down. Zoom will just zoom. But if you want to move the camera itself through 3D space, you can use these ones: camera position X, camera position Y, camera position Z. Just keep messing with the sliders, see what you end up with. It's a very explorative program. Now I kind of like this, so I can start messing with the colors, which there's a bunch of tabs down here. I don't necessarily know how to do all of them, but I do know about the gradient tab and a few others. As you scroll through the gradients that it comes with, you might notice that a lot of your image is going to look kind of the same, like one color. Like, where are all these colors? All I'm getting is like a teal. That is when you go back into the transforms, into the color tab, which there's a few options here. Usually I just leave it on diffusion. This color slider will kind of move you through the gradient, and parts of the image that are influenced by that transform will change to that color. And if you want something more saturated, you can go into the gamma tab and just bump the gamma up. Or the saturation. Or the saturation. Whichever looks better. And since everything kind of affects everything, as you scroll through different transforms color options, the whole image will change. I'll move this Hypertile 3D up because I like Hypertile 3D. So I've messed with the colors, I've messed with the diffusion, coloring type, whatever. Now I can just keep scrolling through gradients until I find the one that looks cool. I like this. GLSL. GLSL ones are gonna be, they're less interesting on their own. I think they probably have a lot of power. I just don't know how to use them. Whenever I use them, they just kind of appear as this little square in the center. Sometimes they look cool, sometimes they're just a square in the center. Now I like what I'm working with here, but it feels a little bit flat. So this is when I'm gonna go into the layers tab, which this is the actual layers, not this. This is just transforms, which are like parts of the layer. Each layer has its own completely unique set of transforms and its own completely unique gradient. And this is how you can get like a lot of the contrast and visual diversity in your renders, is through using layers. I didn't really know about layers until way after I started using this software, but they are really powerful. Once you're on layer 2, you kind of just start the process over again. Just start exploring different transforms, different variables. And the things that are in this layer won't affect things that are in the first layer at all. So this is like its own completely separate thing. Kind of see what I'm trying to do here. It gets a bit weird if you have something specific in mind that you want to do, because it can kind of feel like you're fighting it. Like I'm trying to do something with this circle here. But I think I'm just going to have to bring in another variable. Add a third one, put that at 2 because I'm feeling crazy. I want to get some type of like moving sky effect or something. Oh man, kind of lost it. Let's see if I can't bring it back. This looks pretty cool. Let's see if I can't hold on to this concept. Add a third layer. Every time you add a layer, it'll randomly assign a gradient to it. Post TF is still on. That will stay on if you don't turn it off. two horizon thing going. And that move around the gradients. Alright, so at this point, I'm pretty satisfied with how this looks. So, the way that you want to render is, I believe, interactive renderer. Choose your resolution. In my case, I'm going to render in 3840 by 2880. No, I'm going to render 3840 by 3840. I forgot to say this in the first recording, but interactive renderer is this IR button right here at the top corner of your viewport, and to adjust resolutions, or I guess to adjust the resolution you're looking at in the viewport, you go to this drop down here, and these are going to be the resolutions that are going to show up in the interactive renderer. To add more, you click on these three dots here, edit resolution profiles, and if you want to make a new one, I don't think it comes with any of these 4K ones out of the box. You hit new, and it will unblock these custom resolution boxes for you. So I'm gonna make 10,000 by 10,000 for no reason. Apply, and now that's an option. And then you hit OK and go back to it. Hit from editor, and it'll immediately start rendering. And this is when you typically walk away from your computer and just do something else for a little bit, because this takes a minute. As I'm rendering this, there is something I forgot. If you go into settings and preferences, there's a optics denoiser that's on by default, and depending on what you want to get out of this software, you might want to keep it on, but I typically want it off because I like the smaller details, the little sparkles and noise and stuff. And let's see. Holy shit, there's a Leap Motion tab. I didn't even know about that. I have a Leap Motion. I'm turning this on. I didn't even know that. I'm still figuring stuff out about this software. Now, somewhere you're gonna see, yeah, default post optics denoiser blend. This is if you have it on. Yeah, Tina default AI post denoiser. This is what you're gonna want to turn off. There's optics and OIDN. I go to none. So save and close. This doesn't change the render. Basic rundown of the interactive render. This is just quick resolution switches. If you want to get just a quick quarter scale render out to see what it looks like, you can click on that. Half does half, full does full. Up here is the current quality. Right now it's at 565. This is your speed. This is when you're going to reach 1000, 1500. As you reach increments of 500, it'll update this. This is there's no upper limit, so this is pretty much the closest you have to a render estimate. And the only thing that'll really change as quality increases is these little 1 pixel sparkles will get ironed out, and certain less drastic, more gradient style things will appear more smooth without the optics denoiser. Now I think this looks fine enough, so I'm going to stop it here and save image. Let's go back, make a new tutorial vid. And I'm going to name it something crazy, like 2568090. Hit enter, give it a minute, and if auto load saved image is checked, it'll auto load the saved image. And as it's doing that, I'm going to open up Photoshop, which is the next part of my process. Once I have the image, there's the final render. Once I have the final image out here, it's going to look a little bit crusty in this preview because it's using nearest neighbor scaling. But once I have this image, I typically throw it into Photoshop to bring out the colors and just make it look more vibrant. Which actually I'm going to start. No, don't open. New 3840 by 2880. The reason I rendered it 3840 by 3840 is so that I can, in post, move it up and down just to like see. However, I think the framing looks best. Once it's there, get rid of the little 1 pixel, 2 pixel border, and just start messing with the layer adjustments. Brightness, contrast is an easy one to mess with. Gradient maps are always fun once you have like a cool color you got going. Like this is pretty cool. Reverse it. Go through the blending modes, see what you can get out of that. I mean, really, once the image is out of jwildfire, you can kind of just do whatever you want with it. This is just the thing that I do. And I just keep on messing with it until I think it looks cool. Sometimes I bring in gradient washes. I'm a big fan of this default gradient lately. Some more brightness, contrast. Trying not to deep fry it too much. Sometimes you're gonna want to do the crazy stuff like this. Actually, this time I do. I'm gonna duplicate this layer, bring it up above, and then put it back on top with a blending mode. That kind of brings the colors back into reality. This looks cool. Let's see what it looks like inverted. It's a bit much. And as you keep messing with it, you're gonna find like new stuff like this that you didn't even intend, like this. Oh no, I think I'm gonna leave it at this for now. Save it. And that's pretty much how I use jwildfire. There's a bunch of different options you can mess with. I haven't really explored the entire software yet, so there's still a bunch of stuff you can mess with yourself, find out. This is solid rendering, which is like an alternative rendering method that I've only used really once. Most of the variable types don't work well with it, but some of them do, and some of them look really cool. So it's really on just try stuff out, see how it looks. I think that's it for this video. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll respond to them. Thanks for watching. Send me some cool stuff you make. Like, subscribe, rate 5 stars. Send it to all of your friends and tell them to use this software because it's cool. Thanks. Bye. Final note. This up here. This is how you save your flames. And there you go. You can load them back up anytime. And all of the flames you have open will show up on this thing. Okay, now this is the real end of the video. Thanks.